And welcome in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. A very happy Wednesday to you. I'm Joe Raineri. Certainly appreciate you hanging with us as we get ready for madness. That is right, the madness. It begins tonight. Doesn't get any better than this. March Madness, play-in games, and of course, less than 24 hours away from pure madness here as we get ready for the opening round Thursday and Friday games. Who will make it to the top 32 by the weekend? We've got a lot to go over here tonight with you. And of course, let us not forget, we still have some NBA action here tonight, although this could be one of the ugliest NBA games that we have seen in quite a long time. The reality is they still have a lot to be determined in the association tonight as far as who's in and who's not, who's going to have the buys, who's not going to have the buys. We've got a whole lot here tonight that still is to be decided in the final 13 or 14 games. One of those games, of course, will be the Heat and Cavaliers here tonight, a total hovering around the 204.5 mark. Not what we're usually used to seeing in this NBA, but that might be the most competitive game on the board here tonight. You also have the Milwaukee Bucks getting ready to take on, that's right, the Boston Celtics. Only they have to travel to Boston in order to do it, and that might be a problem given the fact that Giannis is not in for this game here tonight. That is one that we will keep an eye on because we all know that when it comes to the NBA and overvaluing, nobody overvalues like the NBA does. So there'll be an opportunity there for sure. No doubt for us to be able to get it going there in the association tonight. Oh, yeah, Golden State Warriors still trying to win games and make it in to the playoffs if they can, even if that means a play-in round. They are going to need to get their act together, and it looks like Draymond and company will have an opportunity to do just that here tonight. So we are ready to roll here on Game Time Decisions, and we've got our first couple of playoff games, the first four in, getting ready to take center stage here tonight. Grambling taking on Montana State. That will be your first game up here, followed by, oh yes, then we've got a big Mountain West versus the Pac-12. And when I tell you I cannot fade the Mountain West long enough, or fast enough rather, than what we can expect, I think, in this tournament. Mountain West, one of the absolute worst conferences when it comes to March Madness, and expecting them to do anything other than just qualify for the tournament there. I definitely think Boise State is going to have their hands full here tonight. And when we got now, let's see.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere
Only on SportsGrid.
SDSU -7.5, and then Washington State will take on Drake in the 7-10. Wazoo a 1.5 favorite. So we got two close ones here in terms of the spread.
State was one of the top 30 teams in the net rankings. So I think that Drake might be a little motivated to prove that, hey, our conference should have had 2 teams in this tournament. Indiana State didn't make it, but we'll represent pretty well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I bought into Tennessee with their veteran team. I really did. But that's, out the window. That ship has sailed today.
A team that wins no games in their conference tournament has never gone on to win the national championship. So you can put Tennessee in that boat. You can put Duke in that boat from last night. You can put Creighton in that boat from last night. They all lost their first conference tournament game.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game Time Decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All you've heard me say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. Technology is wonderful when it works, that is for sure. But a very happy Wednesday to you as we get ready for the opening games here. A couple more play-in games that we've got to get out of the way here tonight. And first up will be Grambling taking on Montana State in a game that almost nobody knows anything about these two teams. But I can tell you, the total seems to be dropping here and dropping rather quickly. 135.5 was the open. We're starting to see some under money come in here. And Grambling seems to be maybe a popular dog here tonight. One it is worth considering. That will be your first game up. And then we have got Colorado taking on Boise State. Another good one. Only my approach to when it comes to March Madness is one of trying to fade as many Mountain West teams known to mankind. And I think that's what we're going to have to do here again tonight. No offense, Boise State, but I can't find or think of a more overvalued conference than what we have gotten from the Mountain West this year. Now, Colorado State punched their tickets yesterday. Which was a lot of fun. They ended up getting by Virginia. I am not quite sure how the committee looked at Virginia and thought, this is a good bubble team. We should have them in, given the fact that we all know there's nothing there with it. We will be more on that, plus the NBA slate when In Game Live continues.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Montana State and Indiana State are two great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Pitino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats and fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. We welcome in the one and only Coach James Young, ready to roll here. Coach, the madness is upon us here tonight. We had a couple of playing games last night. I'm not sure who exactly thought Virginia deserved a spot to get their snot beat out of them last night like they did. But we do have 4 more teams going here tonight, Coach, and I believe Grambling taking on Montana State is what starts us off. What are you thinking here, my man?
Good to be on with you, Joe. As always, yes, the madness is here, and I love Montana State minus the points. This Montana State team is pretty good offensively. Grambling is not strong offensively. They throw the ball around the gym a little bit. This line started at like 3.5. It's moved to 4.5. So it's moving, folks, because they think that this is the better team. Montana State has experience being here. They played the tougher schedule. They're the better team. Give me Montana State minus 4.5.
Oh, we're going to take the chalk there, Coach. It feels like a coin flip game, although we saw the money come in on the under in that game here tonight. I think everyone's waiting for the nightcap, which should be pretty fun here, Coach, with a Pac-12 taking on Mountain West. Boise State getting ready to take on Colorado. The argument can be made that Colorado probably did enough to get in on its own, but they're going to have to win an extra game here, Coach. How are you playing this one tonight?
Well, this game you're going to line up the teams. Which seems better? They're both pretty good here. The thing about Colorado is I just think that they're red hot. I know they didn't cover the spread and they lost to Oregon, but they have been rolling before that. I think they covered the previous 4 games or 6 of the previous 8. So they've been playing really good basketball. And to me, folks, when I had Jeff Goodman on my podcast earlier this year, he said that this team was a sleeper team, folks. Ready? To get to the Final Four. That Boyle is one of the better coaches in the country no one talks about. To me, this is a good spot for them. I like them minus the points. I mean, I may just go money line. I know I don't like going more than 150, but to buy that extra half a point, Joe, I think it's worth it. So I'm going to twitch it. I'm going to go money line minus 162. Regardless, whoever wins this game is beating Florida because Florida can't stop a nosebleed. And they just go up and down the court, and both of these teams are too disciplined. I like Colorado on the money line tonight, and regardless who wins between Colorado and Boise State, I'm picking them plus the points versus Florida.
Oh, well, congratulations. You get to play Florida, and, well, that might not exactly be a bad situation here. Coach, are you spending any time, and it's not just, obviously, March Madness. There's a few other college basketball tournaments going on in and around the country. The NIT started last night. I think we got the CIT coming up. Any of these contests or these tournaments catch your eye? There's usually some good value because nobody's paying attention to those tournaments.
Well, the interesting thing that I'm going to go to is I'm here with you, which means I'm not in South Orange at the Seton Hall game. So to me, one thing I'm looking at, folks, is I think the number was 148 or 147 and a half in the game between Seton Hall and St. Joe's. If you looked at it, St. Joe's has gone under this number in, I think, 4 out of their last 5 games. Seton Hall is a team that's really good defensively. I'll throw out the St. John's game. DePaul is terrible. Look at Villanova. They went under. UConn can't count it. Creighton can't count it. But when you talk about teams in that bottom part of the Big East, they went under. They're really good defensively. And I know in talking to people there, they are taking this very seriously. Shaheen Holloway went to his 5 starters. Alamir Dawes, Kadari Richmond, Dre Davis, Dylan Awusu, and Jaden Bianco and said, do you want to play? They said yes. And they're so pissed off at what happened at Virginia that they're going to lock in. Give me under 147 and a half in St. Joe's versus Seton Hall.
It's got to be tough, right, Coach? Obviously, being in a locker room, looking these guys in the face, and you work all year to try to get to the tournament. And then when you're kind of on the outside looking in, I guess as a coach, you got to try to judge the room, right? Some kids will want to play, some kids don't want to play. I guess you got to kind of try to figure out what's best for the program moving forward.
Yeah, well, and the crazy thing, Joe, is I think, to be honest with you, I think the coaches are looking at what's best for them, which is the case in the transfer portal. By the way, shout out to Alabama, a team that's in the NCAA tournament, and they got to get on the transfer portal yesterday. So to me, this is like this is the craziness of college basketball, that there's got to be changes in regards to how the transfer portal works. I have a firm belief. I talked to John Fant about this on my podcast that came out yesterday, that we feel like the portal shouldn't be open until the Final Four weekend. And this is craziness that teams are in the tournament, they're picking up kids. Guys are leaving schools. Guys are opting out. And then you got the craziness of kids that are in the tournament right now playing, and teams are trying to contact the kid to see if they're going in the portal. It's a mess. The teams that are doing it right are at a disadvantage. Get rid of the portal until Final Four weekend.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, Coach. They got to have some. They got to have some structure to this, because otherwise it is going to get out of control. It's already out of control on a lot of levels here. NBA here tonight, Coach. What a absolutely horrific card across the board here. I think there's only one game that features 2 teams with even close to winning records here. But the Heat taking on the Cavs here tonight. It's the lowest number one, I guess, the spread, right? 1.5, 2, 204.5, low total. What are we looking at here tonight in this one?
I'm going to go Cleveland on the money line here. This is a team, Cleveland, that needs this game, folks. And the reason why I say they need this game is the Knicks, all of a sudden, with all their injuries, I won 4 games in a row. So now they're sniffing down their necks a little bit. A Miami team that came off a 98-91 loss at Philadelphia, which they were a 2.5-point favorite on the road. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go Cleveland on the money line which should be a really good contest tonight.
Yeah, no, it should be. I don't know who's left healthy in Toronto, Coach, but they're taking on the Kings, and I'm pretty sure they need some bodies there because everybody is hurt here. But that's a big number for Sacramento, 11.5, 233.5. How are you looking at this one?
You need somebody because everybody needs a little love, or the athletic trainer because they're all out. Quickly, out. Podol, out. Barnes, out. Boucher, out. They're all out. Joe, I may be crazy. I'm going to go with Sacramento minus the points because they got no one left to play. So I'm going to go with Sacramento minus the points on the road.
Yeah, no, can't say I blame you there, Coach, at all. Tough card here, a lot of double-digit, favorites here tonight, including the Golden State Warriors, Coach, taking on the Grizz. Are you feeling it one way or the other with Golden State?
Well, I think because of the way Golden State lost to New York at home, they should be in a bad mood. And if you look at Memphis, there's another team that's just mailing in. They got no one playing. Golden State's trying to make a move here. I do like them minus the points. It's 11.5 or 11. Shop around. I'm going to go with Golden State with the cover tonight.
Oh, look at the old Warriors getting it done here tonight. So, Coach, a lot of disgustingness here in the NBA. Some head scratching as well, Coach. Can you tell me why it is Philadelphia or Phoenix rather should be laying that many points against anybody, even against the Philadelphia Sixers?
It makes no sense. I don't get it. And it's also crazy about the number of points that the Celtics are laying versus Milwaukee, even though no Giannis tonight. But really quick, my prop of the night, TJ McConnell over 4.5 assists. Wait, what? Why TJ McConnell? Under 4 straight games. They're playing the Pistons. Should be a blowout. Should be more playing time. Over the last 2 times he played the Pistons, give me TJ McConnell over 4.5 assists.
Love it, Coach. Outstanding stuff. As always here, my friend, the madness, it is upon us here, Coach, and it's always that much fun here. So we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again later. Game Time Decisions will roll on next here on the grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are 2 great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Pitino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats and fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game Time Decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions here as the madness is off and running here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri, joined by Adam Kaufman here as we try and put it all together here. And it's truly madness, Adam. It's why they call it March Madness. And anybody who's been trying to fill out a bracket or trying to figure out which direction to go, you too understand why this is madness. It certainly is a little overwhelming, isn't it?
It's so funny, though, because, you get to this point, like literally where we are right now on the eve of the field of 64 with a couple first four games still remaining tonight. And I know you were talking about him with Coach earlier, and I'm in lockstep with him. I've got the favorites tonight. I know it's chalky, it's boring, but is what it is. I've got them both to cover, and hopefully it happens. I had Colorado State last night. I got screwed on Howard, which, blew up a big parlay for me. That was kind of a bummer, especially with that just sluggish start and then rallying late. It was a tease is what it was, Joe. But everybody gets obsessed with the NCAA tournament because people have the office brackets and bragging rights. Hell, my kids will fill one out. We'll have a little family contest. But nobody talks about the craziness of the first four, of the run up to this, to determine obviously the conference tournaments. And when I say nobody, I mean obviously like people like you and people like that are featured on this network. I mean, everyone talks about it in that sense, but Joe Fan isn't worried about that. They're just, wake me up on Selection Sunday and let me know when the main bracket comes out, and that's what I'm going to care about. I've been betting on this stuff like a total degenerate for weeks now. I'm ready. Let's tip off the thing. I don't want to do anything that involves getting off of my couch tomorrow, starting at about noontime and for the next 12 hours or so.
Yep, I could not agree with you anymore here, but let us not forget, we do have, of course, some NBA action still going on. About 13 games left in the regular season, right? Teams trying to jockey for position there when it comes to the playoffs. Nobody wants to play in one of those play-in games, heaven forbid here. But we do have an interesting game coming up tonight, maybe the most competitive game on the board, at least from the spread standpoint, with the Heat taking on the Cavs here tonight. Lowest total. And this thing opened at 201.5. It's actually been bet up to 204.5. I don't know that I could sweat out an over with the Miami Heat, but how are you looking at this game?
You know what? I recognize that Cleveland is the favorite, is at home, has to have it, all of that stuff. But this team is still, as we know, shorthanded. Obviously Donovan Mitchell's missed significant time of late. Evan Mobley, same deal. And on the other side, whereas Miami is getting two, there's no Bam Adebayo tonight, but they do get Jimmy Butler back. So I actually think the Heat take care of this on the road. I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything like that. I expect it to be a close game. And as you said, spread indicates as much. But I think Miami, much the same. I mean, this is a game, I'll tell you, I'm in the Boston area and people around here because of the Miami Heat PTSD, and you're certainly familiar with it being in South Florida. Everyone around is like, we getting ready for another, Celtics 1 Heat 8 seed matchup. This is a very important game and an important stretch here for the Heat, just as it is for Cleveland. So I think the Heat, who are just a touch healthier, certainly more talented, I think they get it done. I think Butler has a good game. I'm not saying he goes crazy where I would just be taking the overs on all his props or anything like that, but it's a good opportunity. You got Jaquez as well, obviously, who's going to, I presume, continue to start. Maybe you want to look at some of his props. Advantageous spot with no Bam, still no Duncan Robinson. I like the Heat tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not alone there, too. I know now was no Bam. I know some people thought maybe that's not a bad idea, maybe to take a look at the over here. But what are you going to do? You mentioned your Celtics. What are you doing with your Celtics here tonight with no Giannis here against more? How are you approaching this one?
Yeah. So I'm going to stay away from the spread. I realize it's tempting looking at 10.5, with no Giannis, but the Celtics are a little bit short as well. They do have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That these guys have been, it's been a little load management. These guys have been sort of alternating games. Who's been missing? Tatum just missed one the other night, and Brown went crazy. But there's no Drew Holiday, who is a significant piece. Kristaps Porzingis, it sounds like, based on head coach Joe Mazzulla, he's not going to have a minutes restriction this time out. It was so frustrating watching that last game where he only played, I think it was 8 first quarter minutes, or maybe it was 6 first quarter minutes, didn't play at all in the second. And people are out there whining about their props, me included, going, what the hell, what's going on? And then he plays the entire third quarter, didn't make a lick of sense. And didn't play at all in the fourth quarter because it was a blowout. They didn't need him. And so trying to figure out the rotations, the substitution patterns, it's very confusing. I guess I would look maybe toward Peyton Pritchard props, where, say that 10 times fast, Peyton Pritchard props, when if and when those get posted as an opportunity with Holiday out. And Derek White, of course, is coming off a triple-double. You had Pritchard go crazy the other night with 23.7 assists, I think it was. Hauser is out again, and so it frees up some minutes. I certainly believe the Celtics are going to win this game, but you can't ever eliminate the opportunity that one of the Jays has a poor shooting night and Damian Lillard goes crazy on the other side. So, it's at home, it's at the Garden. I think Boston will do enough, but enough to, turn this into a blowout, take the spread, I'm not so sure. What I did do, though, is play the -5.5 line for the first half when I got that earlier today. Not sure if the line is still current, but I just, that to me is one of those where, you open up the possibility that the Celtics take a, sort of commanding lead. They get out in front early with, as you said, no Giannis, but when the subs, the reserves, the Brissetts of the world come in, Tillman, all these guys at the end of the game, maybe it gets a little bit closer and you get a backdoor cover there.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's been better in the first half this year than Boston, for sure. They've got quite the track record of handling business in the first half. If it ain't broke, don't fix it here, Adam. But I got to tell you, it's broke, I think, with Golden State. Although they're laying 11 here tonight against, I mean, I told you it was disgusting, folks. This is one disgusting card here tonight. When we're talking Grambling as the game of the night against Montana State, this is what we're dealing with in the NBA here, Adam. Give me, how are you approaching Golden State here tonight?
So I'll give you kind of a bigger picture thought on this slate, which is that when I look at these games, there's really only one that comfortably, I'm talking about the big favorites. There's only one comfortably that I look at that I say I'd lay the points, and that is the Pacers -11 in Detroit. Coach was talking about it before. I think it's going to be an absolute massacre. I think Tyrese Halliburton, in the wake of these comments that he made about, half my social media feed is people complaining I lost $1,000 on you, to half the world I'm a prop. And well, you know what? Speaking for half the world, my friend, I hope you clear 19.5 points and 10.5 assists tonight, because I bet those. So I like Halliburton to go crazy tonight. I do think the Pacers get the job done. But for some of these other games, we talked about the Celtics, obviously the Kings in Toronto. I'm looking the Thunder at home against the Jazz. The game that you mentioned, obviously, with the Warriors at home laying that big number 11.5 against the Grizzlies. The Clippers in Portland, again, a double-digit one. How do you take that game seriously? But I don't know across some of these, all right, how ugly is it going to get? Do these teams all cover? But what I do believe in tonight, and I realize, you can get tripped up, but a bankroll repair, if you will, a builder. I believe in the chalk tonight. And if you parlay it gets a little wonky, a little wild, you're looking at a lot. But if you parlay the Pacers, I'm just looking at the board here, the Pacers, the Clippers, the Warriors, and the Kings, you put those four together and you're going to get a plus money bet, in the vicinity of, I don't know, plus 105, plus 110. And so that just may be a good way to attack things. Maybe put a little bit more on that parlay as opposed to spreading yourself out with a bunch of these games where guys could theoretically get a little bit lazy, toward the end, or again, the subs come in, the reserves come in, and it just turns into backdoor cover after backdoor cover. I don't think you're going to get these, 20, 25 point wins across the board for all these heavy favorites. I'm sure you'll see a couple of them, maybe even a 30-point win in there somewhere. But someone is going to, from a spread betting perspective, disappoint you. But I think as far as just winning, just doing what they're supposed to do, the better teams are going to be the better teams tonight.
Yeah, and I think they want to get it done early rather than late. So I'm kind of with you here, looking at the first halves and a lot of these also. All right, you got the two playing games here tonight. Grambling, Montana State, Colorado, Boise State. Are you leaning either which way in these games?
Yeah, same as Coach. I'm with the two favorites. Colorado was something that I bet earlier in the week when it was still 2. I think it's all the way up to 3.5 now. 3.5 there on the screen. So obviously there's been quite a bit of line movement there with the faith in the Buffs, and I think the Buffs are dangerous. I don't only think they win tonight. I think they could win another game or two once the tourney starts. And if you look at it, too, and I'm sure you've talked about this on your show, 11 out of the last 12 years, we have seen a first four winner win a game in the actual March Madness in the field of 64. And I think Colorado, maybe we'll get a couple this year, but because I was very impressed with Colorado State last night as well. But I think Colorado is that team. That's the one that I would target. And obviously you guys were talking about the matchup with Florida. And on the other side, it's, I get the, people want to be tempted by Grambling. No, Montana State is where I'm going to go as well. And so it's boring when you go with the chalk. I get it. But if it helps make me money, that's what I want to do tonight, Joe.
Listen, the chalk wins too, man. It's what happens. So I mean, you can't always go fishing for the big dogs here because they don't always bark. So but you gotta love the drama tonight. I mean, that's really what we've got here across the board. You've gotta love when we get drama and urgency, and we've got it. Adam, appreciate the time, my man. Best of luck with those plays. Game Time Decisions returns with CT Bets next here on the Grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are two great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Pitino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game Time Decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions as the madness rolls on, and we've got plenty of it here coming up. Now, we've talked about some of the playing games. Now we're going to focus our attention on some of these Thursday and Friday games and maybe a little look ahead for a future bet or two with our main man, Chris Thurston, CT Bets in the house, joining us here. You got to love the madness here, Chris. It comes once a year. And over the next 72 hours, it is the definition of madness in sports books around this country, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. Great to be here with you as always. And yeah, this is the this is the best weekend of the year, right? The first and second rounds of the March Madness tournament. They're starting. I'm heading up the Turning Stone Casino tomorrow with a bunch of our friends, and we'll be there 3.5 days straight, just banging the games and cashing some tickets.
Yeah, I know, dude. You are the madness, folks. When I tell you, is about to begin, and it's going to start for us here. CT, Michigan State, everyone's favorite. Tom Izzo, of course, he made it in because of the games he played back in November that nobody remembers. Mississippi State, Michigan State, 1.5. How are we going with this one?
Yeah, pretty disgusting year for Izzo, right? 19-14. Although they do have a decent rotation with some experience, Joe. I shouldn't say I was shocked that they got in. I mean, the committee just loves Izzo, like you said. Bulldogs, 2 wins in the SEC tournament. One of those being over the Vols really helped them get in, but I think they deserve to be in regardless. They're a top 20 team when it comes to adjusted deficiency. And man, they could really defend the 3-ball. They really make it tough for teams to play against, gives them a shot against almost anyone. I think the whole Tom Izzo and March thing is really way overhyped. Every casual fan and bettor is going to be on the Spartans to win this one, especially when they see that they're the lower seed at 9. Fun stat for you. Since 2007, Izzo's teams are just 11-10 against the spread as the lower seed. So Sparty was really bad away from home this year, Joe. They didn't beat a single tourney team in a game played outside of the state of Michigan. Okay. So remember that one when you're going to the window and you're back in Sparty tomorrow. I think the SEC was a far superior conference than the Big Ten this year. Both teams do a good job at limiting shots, but Bulldogs are very good on the glass, and I just think that will come into play tomorrow. It's the first game to go, Joe. First one to tip off for the tournament. I don't think Izzo's team has that magic this year. I made Miss State a slight favorite, so we're going to grab the 1.5 with the Bulldogs to kick off the tournament here.
Yeah, I got to love it. Hopefully we'll never have to talk about Izzo again. Fantastic stuff. Now an 8-9 CT. There's a few 8-9s that I just think are coin flip games. They're tough, and this is one of them with FAU Northwestern here, 8-9. Boy, FAU'd like a few of those wins, losses that they had this year back, ones that they should have won, because it's a terrible draw for them, and it's not an easy game with Northwestern, who may have the best player on the court. How are you looking at it?
I agree with you on that, Joe, that Northwestern definitely has the best player on the court. And although, FAU was a great, story tale last March, we haven't seen that this year from this team. And they're brought everybody back, Joe. They're simply not the same team. Yes, they can score, but man, they dropped off significantly on the defensive side of the ball. I think Northwestern is a really scary team to play in the tournament. I mean, they're loaded at the guard position, led by Boo Buie, like you said, and they could really score the ball. If you pay too much attention to Boo Buie, that leaves Barnhizer and Langford wide open, and they could both knock them down too. So Dusty May's squad, may have a lot of the same pieces back, but they really underachieved this year, and they put up a real stinker versus Temple in the tourney, in the conference tournament last week. This game is probably going to come down to if the Cats could knock down their deep balls. The Cats take really good care of the ball. So they play at one of the slowest tempos in the nation, and they're really well coached in Collins. He's a really underrated coach. Joe flies under the radar and really gets his team up here. These kids love him. I expect the masses to get to the window with last year's Cinderella. I think Boo Buie is going to have a little something to say about FAU making another run here. So I backed Northwestern quite a bit this year. It's worked out well for me, and usually we've been on the right side of them. So I like the Cats in the puppy roll here. So we played on Northwestern +3.
Yeah, just not a great season for FAU. It just goes to show you how hard it is to duplicate that kind of effort in back-to-back years of March Madness. But don't tell Connecticut that. How about it? Everyone's favorite mid-major a year ago who threw up all over themselves, Drake. They're taking on Washington State. This is another team, right, with some guys back here. They are a powerhouse mid-major. Are they good enough to take down the Pac-12?
Joe, did they play this game already? Because everywhere I'm seeing and everybody's talking on TV and every radio show, they've already advanced Drake, and they have Drake, this year's FAU, the darling, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4. I mean, it's mind-blowing. Yeah, they're one of the top offensive mid-majors. They went 4-1 in quad one wins. They blew out Akron and Nevada, and this is all I've been hearing here. Drake, just advance them now here. Well, Joe, Wazoo is no slouch themselves this year. They swept Arizona this year in the regular season. They ripped off 8 wins in a row throughout January and February. And I think their duo of Jones and Rice is very dangerous, and they could kill you. The Cougs are tough, man. They defend really hard, and they're great on the glass. And I know, Drake is one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the country, but Wazoo will have an edge here on the offensive glass with their size. The height disparity in this matchup is a really sneaky angle that I haven't heard too many people talk about. And Joe, you and I talk about this all the time. The opening line is always very telling to me. And Wazoo opened as a 1.5-point favorite. Okay. Now everyone and their mother is on Drake. So they have to, they flip Drake to the favorite here. People are underestimating Coach Kyle Smith. I'm expecting, this is the last game tomorrow night, Joe, of the opening day of the tournament here. I'm expecting a masterclass coaching performance from him. I think Wazoo's advantages on the glass, their better balance on both sides of the ball, get them through and get the win. And there's no darling this year from Drake.
No, I'm so with you there, Sage. It's their mid-major is the nice season, but you're a mid-major. Everyone settle down here. All right, so if you're going to take a look forward here, a lot of different ways to approach it. 30, who's going to win the region, right? Final 4 is going to make the Elite 8, Sweet 16. Which one of these teams and which one of those future bets are you looking at?
Yeah, Joe. So I made this bet right when it came out Monday morning on FanDuel. And it's, as you can see here, it's ticked up minus 124 now on Baylor to make the Sweet 16. I bet this on FanDuel minus 115. I still think minus 124 is a great price, right? Joe, you look at this matchup on Friday versus Colgate. I really think that the Bears get rolling in a blowout win versus Rollgate, as they were saying the last couple of years. Yep. And, I know this is Colgate's 4th straight tourney, and they still have not won a game in the Big Dance. I think they're 0-6. When they stepped up in class this year, they got rocked. They got rocked by Illinois. They got rocked by Arizona. They also got rocked by Yale, Joe. That Yale team that needed to hit a shot at the buzzer this past Sunday in order to punch their ticket. They cannot defend the 3, and there's a huge size and athletic disparity in this matchup, Baylor versus Colgate. So I have Baylor rolling in the first round on Friday. Then Baylor gets the winner of Clemson, New Mexico. So when you look at that, whoever they're playing, I make them at least a 4.5, 5-point favorite to either team, okay? So now when you think about that and you're making this bet now, so you have Baylor, they get through, they beat Colgate. Now their matchup, they play Clemson or New Mexico. Okay, Joe, if they're a 4.5-point, 5-point favorite, the money line's most likely going to be about 170, 185, maybe even higher, depending how many Baylor ends up blowing Colgate out by. So you're making a really, really good bet here on Baylor to make the Sweet 16. I'm fine with minus 124. I tweeted it out on Monday, minus 115. I think this is a really great bet.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. The path seems reasonable for them for sure here. And of course, there's always good old, UConn. I did it because I figured it was going to minus money. I took them to make it to the Final Four. I'll be damned if UConn doesn't make their way at some point. Might as well get it at plus money while you can if it's still available there. You and I were in love with North Carolina this year. Did not love the seeding out west with them, but you talked about it there. People, giving everyone all the credit like the Drakes of the world. Apparently Arizona is just going to run right through this side of the bracket here, CT. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, Joe. And man, they have been a little Roxy-turvy, I guess that you would say, this year. Sometimes they look unbelievable, and man, at times they don't even show up, Joe. So I think this is the most interesting bracket of them all, right? You have UNC as the one after they put up a stinker in the ACC championship as 10.5-point favorites. It goes off as an NC State, wins outright. So you have UNC as the favorite, or as the betting favorite and the number one seed, Arizona as the 2, Baylor as the 3. I think Baylor could make some noise in this bracket. And want to know another team that no one's talking about, Joe, is St. Mary's. They have Grand Canyon in their first round matchup, Joe, and that game is reminding me of the Drake matchup. It's like everybody's already advancing already advancing Bryce Drew's Grand Canyon Lopes. They shouldn't even play the game. As you know, Bryce Drew is, he's become a great coach. He's the brother of Scott Drew, who coaches Baylor. So he gets the Lopes in the dance. I think it's their third time in 4 years as his coach. Probably the best team he's had so far. But Joe, Mary's has a really, really good squad this year. And every year they do have a good squad. They're not really able to kind of string some wins together. Last year, unfortunate draw. I think they played UConn in the second round. And they get bounced. But, Joe, I think this is a really unfortunate matchup for the Lopes. As you look at this, the game, my opinion, they got matched up with a better version of themselves. Last year, they got zags. They got dominated. They lost by 12. This is not a good matchup for the Lopes here. The Gales have only one loss since December 23rd and two losses since December 1. I think St. Mary's gets by here, and I like St. Mary's to cover the spread here too, Joe. So I think everybody's sleeping on this Mary's team and advancing the Lopes way too quickly here.
Yeah, well, they're too busy betting on Auburn apparently, because out of sight, out of mind, CT, and it's been a while since people have seen St. Mary's, and that's a great opportunity to jump on board. Brother, be safe. Cash those tickets. March Madness. Game Time Decisions returns next here on the Grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are two great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Pitino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats and fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in as we look to close out this hour of Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Appreciate you hanging with us as we have not only madness and playing games getting ready to tip off here. We got a slate of NBA games, and as I had mentioned earlier, maybe the one game that pits a couple of teams, at least in and around 500, is the late night game, and that's going to be the Suns taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I have no idea why Phoenix continues to be the single most overrated team in the NBA right now, but they're 6-7 straight up, 3-10 against the number in their last 13 games, and they are now, I believe, 29th when it comes to ATS winning percentage on the season. They have only covered 40% of the games that they have played in as a favorite, and as a favorite, 20, 28, and 3 against the number. Why in the world would anybody run to the window? And they are, because this number has creeped up to 9 in some spots. Why in the world would anybody be convinced that Phoenix is somehow a team that can win by double digits? I don't. Now, granted, the Suns, they'll have an injury that they're going to have maybe a slight edge on when it comes to Philadelphia. We're still waiting to see if Tobias Harris is a go. But I wouldn't say that that's a huge, moving of the line there if Tobias Harris doesn't go. But again, Tobias Harris is a big part of what makes Philadelphia defensively fly as well as offensively. No way can I stomach laying 9 points, expecting this Phoenix Suns team, who's only covered 40% of their games as a favorite, and expect them to win by margin. Absolutely not. The Phoenix Suns continue to be overvalued by the market, and I plan on being on the other side and fading that move. Now, we'll have much more when it comes to the NBA, and we'll do that another hour of Game Time Decisions coming up next here on the Grid. All right, welcome back in another hour of Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. Certainly appreciate you hanging with us here today on the SportsGrid Network, as we've got we're getting ready for plenty of madness that is, with a couple of games for playing opportunities in the NCAA tournament tonight. Got a couple of games in the NIT, along in the CIT. But we also have a same-game parlay, so let's kick it off with our good friend Davis Maddock. And let's hear, Davis, what you got tonight for a same-game parlay.
All right, guys, we are officially in March Madness season, so we've got another same-game parlay cooked up over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. We are heading to college basketball for the first time here. We are going to begin in the first four by taking the Colorado money line. This is a top 25 team by efficiency in Ken Palm's college basketball rankings. Anytime you can get a top 25 team taking on a team that is outside of the top 35, which is Boise State, I think that we got to hop on the Colorado money line. We are also going to take the under on 140.5 points. Colorado is the 9th best team in college basketball in terms of field goal percentage, but they are outside the top 200 teams in total field goals taken, which tells me this is going to be a rock fight, as we often see in these early games in March. And then we're going to take the second leading scorer on Colorado, Tristan Da Silva, to score 15 or more points in this game, banking on some efficient two-point shooting there. This three-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 428 odds. Colorado money line under 140.5, and Tristan Da Silva to score 15 or more points in this game. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, appreciate that, Davis. Should be an awful lot of madness here to wrap our heads around tonight, as we've got, again, we said NIT tournament, CIT tournament, Villanova added here tonight, Cincinnati and the Dons going at it here tonight, Seton Hall, St. John's, a lot of great basketball still on the college level to be played here, obviously, over the next 48 to 72 hours and beyond, but we still have plenty of NBA action as well coming up tonight, including the Jazz getting ready to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Oklahoma City comes in to this game here tonight after a much-needed 2 days off. They have not exactly been great to bettors over the last couple of days, but they did finally give themselves an opportunity to get that number one seed. But more importantly, I think it's fair to say that SGP is an MVP-worthy candidate, guys. And the way he is scoring and what he means to this team, he is absolutely the definition of MVP. So as we head down the stretch with him, good old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has to be considered for MVP considerations. And I believe he's going to put on quite a show when he gets to take on teams like tonight in the Utah Jazz, who are, shall we say, defensively deficient, if I'm being nice there. I do think that he is going to get his. So I don't have any problem with SGA having any sort of over on the props, or there be points, whether it be, points, rebounds, and assists you want to go with. I think he's going to have some fun here and down the stretch over these final 12 or 13 games. However, they are just 2-7 against the number in their last 9 games. So you got to be careful. Although once again, it looks like all sorts of injuries and who's playing and who's not for the Utah Jazz here tonight. Looks like Markkanen and Clarkson are out, and it looks like the Oklahoma City Thunder are finally clean when it comes to injuries. So not a lot to worry about there. Golden State, however, needs to keep racking up wins, and they've got one tonight that they should win, but again, should win, can win, will win is a whole different story, especially when you're talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, who are now 10-6 against the number in their last 16 games. And can you believe it? They're actually healthier than they've been. You had Desmond Bane return a couple of games ago. and he lit it up a couple of nights ago there as he gets his way back in there. He's an above-average defender. So this team is already top 12, I believe, 11th or 12th in defensive efficiency for the season. They are not a walk in the park, which is, again, why they're 10-6 against the number in the last 16 games, because the market continues to undervalue them. And it's no different, I think, here tonight as this number continues to get pushed up. I'm seeing 11s now, with the total also being pushed up to 220 in this one. So I think, as I'm looking, Draymond's still listed as questionable. But for the most part, Santi Aldama looks like he might be a go for Memphis as well. Do not sleep on them. Not saying they are going to win the game tonight, but there is no way that you just look at this team and say, yeah, no, Golden State's going to have no problem running them over. No, not just yet here. I think they're going to get quite the fight. And let us not forget, you go back the last couple of seasons, Memphis was an Achilles heel for the Golden State Warriors. I have a feeling they may just be that tonight for them as well. And the Clippers. Can somebody please look and post on the back of a milk carton the Los Angeles Clippers, because we haven't seen them. In fact, where the hell have they been? They have been absolutely horrific, to the tune of 8-10 straight up, 5-13 against the number in their last 18 games. They have been awful, and they've been dealing with some injuries. Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they've all missed some time. But let's also keep in mind the schedule of this month, we've talked about it before on this show, has been absolutely brutal. And it looks like all three appear to be healthy and ready to go here tonight. I mean, this is the first time in 2 weeks the Clippers are coming into a game with having more rest than their opponent and actually having a couple of days of rest. So Terrence Mann looks like he's back for the Clippers here tonight. It was a much-needed reprieve for the Clippers. It's been a brutal travel month for them, along with scheduling. So it's no wonder they've kind of fallen off a cliff here a little bit. But I think this is a good get-right spot against the Portland Trailblazers here tonight. If we're being honest, even though they're 7-3-1 against the number this month, they have come against the likes of the Raptors and the Wizards and the Grizzlies. It's a totally different situation playing Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Harden at the same time. So bounce back for the Clippers here tonight. It's one of the games that I do think the Clippers will get right on. We have more to get to here, including an update on what's going on in one of the play-in games. They're off and running, March Madness. We'll talk about it next here on The Grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are two great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Pitino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats and fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Joe Raineri. We do have madness. It is off and running here already. Some college basketball, the play-in game. And right now, Montana State on top of Grambling here with about 7 minutes to go in the first half, 24-19. And, of course, the winner gets to advance. And then we've got a late game tonight here with Boise State taking on Colorado. But let us not forget, as the NHL continues to screw up the scheduling, but did manage to give us a couple of games here tonight after giving us next to none there, George, a couple of days ago. But it's always a pleasure to see you. Oh, look at that, a big 3. But I will say this here, Kurtz, at least these are 3 games I think worth looking at here tonight. How about you? I mean, it opens up with Toronto taking on Washington. Can you believe that Washington still has a shot at making the playoffs, playing some of their best? What is going on with every time I turn around to fade them, they end up winning and getting points? Like, what is going on with Washington?
Yeah, you know I feel the same way as you. I don't know how they win games. I just don't. All right. Ovechkin's having a ho-hum season, blah, right? He's not doing anything. They had to release Kuznetsov. There's nobody on that offense you're truly afraid of here. John Carlson, who once was one of the top defensemen in the NHL, really not that player this year. The goaltending's been good. I mean, Charlie Lindgren does not get the credit he probably deserves for how well he's stabilized the net for that team. Darcy Kemper's been okay, but Lindgren's been better. The bottom line, though, is me. I mean, Joe, last week we could have talked the Islanders maybe going for that playoff spot. Maybe the week before that, it was the Devils that we thought. Then the week before that, it'd be a different team. Islanders, Devils, Washington, Pittsburgh. Does anybody want the 8th spot? Does anybody want it? Because it's like every week we're talking about a different team. Washington's problem is this. Their next 6 games are pretty much against the who's who in the Eastern Conference. They go 2-4, they'll be toast again. You know, if they can go 3-3 or better, they'll probably have a shot here. I want to bet Toronto here, but my problem is also this. Toronto, Joe, has nothing to play for now until the playoffs. They're stuck in that spot, 3rd place in the Atlantic Division. They're going to play Boston or Florida first round. They know that. They can't catch either one. Not unless they go on one hell of a run and one of those teams collapses here, which nobody suspects. Still, I'm going Toronto tonight. And Austin Matthews has been a little quiet lately. I think I'm going to go with Toronto. Either I'm going to parlay with an Austin Matthews goal or just take an Austin Matthews anytime goal on the side here. But I think Austin Matthews scores tonight. And I'll go for a Toronto win, but I do not feel great about the Toronto win.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Lindgren has been phenomenal, right? And during this streak, 6-3, I think they are in their last 9. Ovechkin is a one-man wrecking crew. I don't know why they keep putting the Capitals on a power play. They are going to score on you. Unlike Toronto, by the way, whose power play and power killing are absolutely horrific. Second of a back-to-back for them. But let's face it, they're all going to be bounced out in the first round anyway there, Kurtz. Let's talk about Dallas here tonight. The Stars taking on the Coyotes. I have a feeling I know where you're going in this one. Shock me here, Kurtz. Where are you looking here tonight with the Stars and Coyotes?
Yeah, I'm not shocking nobody, right? It's certainly not the Coyotes. All right. The problem is this: I don't have a parlay partner here, so minus 300. I'm not going to go with that. The minus goal and a half. It's probably what you're leaning towards here. The Stars are not that team that I like to bet on with them to win and an anytime goal scorer because they don't have that superstar goal scorer. There's no Matthews. There's no Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, who I've been picking on all season long here. They have very good players, but which one do we like to score a goal tonight? Is it Robertson tonight, who's really not having the year he had last year? Maybe it's Rupe Hintz. Seguin comes back tonight. I wouldn't bet on him in a million years, but he's back tonight for the Stars. I like the Stars to win the game. It's the one game tonight where I feel pretty comfortable knowing who's going to win the contest. I think it's the Dallas Stars here. But I said I don't feel great about Toronto winning. Nor that I do. I feel great about either one of the in the next game. But either one of those two teams definitely winning here. So hard for me to find that parlay partner here. But I'll take the Stars on the goal line.
What do you think about the total? Interesting 6.5 in this one. I got to believe Dallas is going to be primed. I mean, if you look at this Arizona defense, it's about 4 goals a game on the road they've been giving up here. Got to figure Dallas is going to get theirs. Do you think they can score enough to get this thing up and over to 6.5?
Well, that's where we're at, right? We need Dallas to really carry the load here. I would think you would need 5 from Dallas, right? Because I don't know if I'm going to trust Arizona to get any more than 2. So I would need 5 from Dallas. Not the highest scoring team.
Oh, Andre hasn't been great either, though. Andre hasn't been great.
True. He hasn't been that goalie. He hasn't been the guy. Yep. Really, outside of that one playoff series he had 2 years ago against, I think it was the Calgary Flames, when he first came up, where he was, wow, brick wall.
Yep.
He really hasn't been that guy since. He's been good, but not wow. And this year he's been more, he's been solid to maybe above solid, but once again, not what we expected. So I think that's fair. Where he just hasn't quite been that goaltender tonight. That being said, it's Arizona. I don't know what we're going to get from them. The big news in the GM meetings this week is that they don't know what's going to. Oh my God, Giancarlo Stanton just had a long grand slam, his second home run of the night. Go out and grab Giancarlo Stanton in your fantasy drafts tomorrow. It's going to be like 900 home
and he just pulled a hamstring, rounding first. Way to go! That's fantastic. Yeah, good stuff.
That's right. He'll be on the IL tomorrow for about 3 months.
Exactly. Stub toe. Yeah, please.
Listen, we all know that's coming anyway. What's the over-under for his first IL stint? May 12th?
Yeah.
I'll give you May 12th.
Yep.
Take your over-under.
I'll give it an hour. I'm going to take the over on this.
He'll be
exactly.
Ottinger,
by the way, 16 goals in the last 4 starts. That is not great and doesn't scream under to me in that. So I'm just saying, I think there's an opportunity maybe to get some goals there tonight, even for lowly Arizona. Kings in Minnesota. Minnesota, Kurtz, has been pretty good lately. I mean, wasn't a great start, right? They fired the coach. They went on that winning streak, worked out pretty good. You talked about not having that go-to scorer. Well, Minnesota has one. And they have been pretty darn good. And the inconsistent Kings, do you trust them enough here in this spot?
No. No, I don't. I really don't trust either team, by the way. The Kings have been a much different team on the road than at home. They're a better road team. For whatever reason, they're a better road team here. Both teams played last night, so that's even. Now, you mentioned this game is much more important to Minnesota than it is to LA. Minnesota is, listen, I guess they're trying to get in that last playoff spot. I don't see it happening, but I guess they're trying to get in that spot here. So this is a must-win. I mean, it's just a must-win because in some ways they're chasing the LA Kings first, but if the Kings were one of the top 3 teams. So Minnesota right now is 3 points behind Vegas, but Vegas has a game in hand here. So it's a must-win for Minnesota here. You mentioned that player was Kaprizov. If he would have been playing like he has been playing the past month all season long, my God, he'd be in the MVP conversation. He's been a one-man wrecking crew for that team. Love the way he's playing here. I assume, it's a late game here, so they haven't announced goaltenders, but I assume we saw Talbot and Gustafsson last night, so I would make you believe it's going to be Rittich and Marc-Andre Fleury tonight. Fleury's been really good lately. Rittich more up and down here. I like the Wild tonight. It just comes down to one of these games. Both teams played the night before. It's much more important for the Minnesota Wild. I'm going to go with the Wild tonight.
Yeah, 4-1-1 his last 6 flurries. Kind of turned the clock back here. And you mentioned it, man. Kasparov, since February 1st, 17 goals, 15 assists, 32 points in 20 games. My word. Those are MVP numbers. If you ever could have put it together for an entire season, my goodness. But they need to win to get anywhere near the playoffs. You're watching baseball here, Kurtz. Any impressions here as we get ready to kick off the season?
Well, Otani might want to do a little better job of hiring his interpreter, right? That news story just broke about an hour ago. His interpreter stole $4.5 million from him. That's more than Otani's making this year. Otani's broke. He had to renegotiate that contract. Get some deferred money to go a little earlier.
Yes.
I can't. He's okay. He's okay. But that was the big news story here. That and the bomb scare this morning there. So Dodgers win today. I need 103 more, Joe. 103 more to get my over. Hit the run line this morning. It was only minus 113. So odds are I'll be doing the same thing tomorrow. Yamamoto makes his first start against Musgrove. Give the Dodgers tomorrow. And maybe Otani hits that first home run tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we just found out, too, the interpreter didn't even speak English. So go figure. George Kurtz, we appreciate it, my man. Game Time Decisions continues next here on the grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are two great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Patino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game Time Decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if you're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back just utterly stink their quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network. About 60 seconds left, just about ready to go to the break. Grambling Down 8 over Montana State in the first 4 game in tonight. We got Boise State and Colorado coming up. After that, we'll keep you posted as we move along. But let's not forget, we just had the Players Championship on the PGA Tour. A couple of weeks, we'll have the Masters, but we do have the Valspar this week. And our good friend Brady Cannon in the house here, going to lay it all out for us here at the Valspar this week. So, Brady, we do Sundays on In-Game Live, and we missed you this Sunday, and maybe it's better because I know you were on this show last week, and you pushed the chips in on Xander Schauffele. And I was rooting for him, my friend, and watching him melt down on that show, I was happy you did not have to endure being on air, because I imagine no matter where you were, it was probably not a bunch of pleasantries coming out of your mouth watching that. I don't know what it is with him. The guy's got the game. He gets to Sunday, and it just, you can't count on him here. And it's absolute. You nailed it. Everything you said a week ago about him was correct, right up until when he got to Sunday.
Boy, when he got to about the 15th hole, right? And I even figured that he needed to shoot 67. I was worried about it.
Right.
I wasn't feeling comfortable with just a one-shot lead. I thought he needed to shoot 67. He could have got it done with 68. He shot his worst round of the 4 days and even par 70, and it was one shot short of Scotty Scheffler. A brilliant effort. I mean, my goodness, 2 weeks in a row now, the shortest shot on the board. I mean, we've gone a complete role reversal here. We had nothing but long shots to start the season, the first 9 events, and now Scheffler, the very top guy on the odds board 2 weeks in a row. But I guess they're going back to the well with Schauffele this week. I talked to a lot of bookmakers earlier this morning, and, he's the shortest shot on the board at plus 750 or so, maybe even lower than that in some spots. And they're going back to him, but I did not go back to him. I told you last week, Joe, it's been a long time since I've been on Schauffele, and it might be an even longer time before I go back. But, I cashed a top 20, but, boy, yeah, it was heartbreaking to not cash the outright win. But I got to feel that was incredibly emotionally draining for Schauffele. You could see how much he was locked in there on Saturday and, trying to grind it out on Sunday. And I just don't know if he can come right back and bounce back and be in that position again to win a golf tournament the very next week. So I stayed away from him here at the Valspar.
So Palm Harbor, Copperhead, right? Been on the tour for a while. Nice course. I need you need guys who can, hit some irons here. Got a lot of shots, 150 or more. Out into some greens here. And you mentioned Schauffele seems to be the betting favorite, but something tells me you're going to go further down the board on this one here this week. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I didn't go much further. I went with JT, Justin Thomas, and I haven't bet on him in a while either. And I think maybe there's a little bit of line value because he missed the cut last week at the Players. But going into the Players, he had finished top 12 in 4 out of his last 5 starts. So I'm convinced the form is still there. And by the way, in the 2 rounds that he played at Sawgrass, he was gaining over 4.5 strokes on the field with the irons. It was the short game that did him in, which is uncharacteristic of Thomas. He's a very good scrambler. In fact, in this field, last 36 rounds, he ranks 11th for strokes gained approach and 11th for strokes gained around the green. Correlated courses I used this week: Sea Island, TPC Twin Cities in Minnesota, Harbor Town in South Carolina, Muirfield Village, the John Deere, and also TPC Southwind. He's won at Southwind. He's finished runner-up at Muirfield Village, has a top 5 at the Deere, and a top 10 at Harbor Town. He's also got 3 top 10s here at the Valspar to go along with 2 top 20s. So I got him at 16-1, pretty decent number on him. And then he went to Doug Gim at 46-1. He comes in having finished top 16 the last 5 events in a row. So he's been a very hot player. 12th in this field for greens in regulation gained, 8th in strokes gained approach, and top 30 for strokes gained around the green and scrambling. This guy's always good in the stats, and it's paid off with the results as of late. We'll see if he can take the next step, maybe against a little more watered down field this week and turn a top 16 into a victory. I'm going back to Andrew Putnam. I was on him last week. He did okay, got off to a good start, made the cut, but faded over the weekend. Got him at 70-1 here. 2 top 10s this season, including a couple weeks ago at Bay Hill. Last 36 rounds, number 1 in this field for greens in regulation gained and 2nd in good drives gained. Also 10th in scrambling and 20th in strokes gained approach. He's finished 5th at TPC Southwind and Muirfield Village, 11th at TPC Twin Cities, and 12th at Sea Island. And then a little deeper to Sam Ryder at 95-1, and I've even seen higher numbers on him. It was lower at first, and he started to drift to the other side of triple digits now. He's been playing well in Florida. He was 21st at the Cognizant, 16th last week at the Players, 4th in this field for strokes gained approach. And Joe, you talked about approach shots from 150 yards in. Actually, more than half of them here, when you include the par threes, more than half of the shots here into the greens are going to be from 175 yards or more. And Sam Ryder ranks 2nd in this field for hole proximity from 175 to 200 yards. And then I went with 2 more triple-digit shots here. Lee Hodges at 125-1. I really like the way he's played on ball-striking type courses and against signature event fields. You know, the big-time fields with all the big boys. He has finished 24th at the Genesis Invitational, 12th at the Arnold Palmer, and 35th last week at the Players. So maybe like Doug Gim against a lighter field here, Lee Hodges could find his way moving on up that leaderboard in a hurry. He won last season at TPC Twin Cities, has a 13th place at Southwind and a 12th place at the Memorial. And then finally a big bomb on Adams Fenson at 175-1. Woo! This guy actually won on one of the correlated courses, Sea Island in St. Simon's Island, Georgia, and I hit him when he did at 150. So maybe the luck of Adam Swenson will come back to me here again. 37th in this field for strokes gained approach and 8th in that key distance, hole proximity from 175 to 200. I just thought the price was really off here, Joe. I've seen him as low as 100-1. I've seen 150. I was able to grab 175. I think he's being a little bit undervalued. So what is that, a 6-pack here going into the Valspar?
Yeah. Yeah, it's such an interesting course. I've been at Innisbrook, and I swear if you blindfolded and dropped, all of a sudden got out of the car, you'd think with this golf course that you were in North Carolina. It feels like a Carolina course. I mean, the fairways are very narrow. You got tree lines everywhere, dog legs everywhere, small greens. The kinds of players that fit in here. I mean, this is not your typical, 20, 21 under type of tournament here. I ask you this every week. What wins this tournament? What's the number we're looking for here?
Well, if you go to the last 8 events, and you're exactly right, it doesn't look like a Florida course at all. Not many palm trees, but rather pine trees, pine trees and elevation change. So the winning score on average, the last 8 editions of this event, has been about 11.5 under par, under 12 under par. Now, the winning score proposition bet this week here locally in Las Vegas is set at 14.5. I think somewhere between 12 and 14 is probably about right. But yeah, it's a ball, that's what we really see on the Florida swing. Ball striker type courses, not so much emphasis on the short game, really got to be sharp with the irons. And that's what we've got here again this week. There's going to be a lot of options off the tee. Guys are going to be hitting anywhere from, 3-wood to 4-iron and not a lot of drivers. And you throw in those par threes that are all about 200 yards long. And like I say, 175 to 200 yards is going to be a very popular distance when approaching these greens. So I landed on a couple of guys that are very good from that distance. And outside of that, I really put emphasis on iron play and then scrambling around these greens because they're going to miss some as well.
So it's interesting because you don't need to hit. There's no bomb. It's not a bomber's course, right? So 340 yards left or right, you're in another hole. So it's not a great situation for there. But with the Masters coming up around the horn, who do you want to see? Who are you watching, keeping an eye on in this tournament here for possibility to get ready for the Masters coming up?
I hope it's JT. You know, I already have a ticket on Thomas at 34-1. He's drifted up a little bit. I've seen him back to as high as 30. I've seen him down as low as 26. That 34 was a little bit of an outlier when it was still off the cuff or off the tails of him having a poor year last year. And now he's really started to come around. I mentioned the 4 top 12s in his last 6 starts, and you're starting to see that price kind of bounce back and forth a little bit. I expected him to do well last week. You and I talked about it. I thought a top 10 on JT was a great bet. I'm hearing there's sharp money here in Las Vegas on JT for a top 10 finish this week, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think he'll bounce back. I think that was just a little bit of a blip on the radar here. I'd like to see him do well. I've got 4 guys for Masters futures so far: Thomas, Zalatoris, Spieth, and Jason Day. I'll probably be adding a couple more here in the next few weeks.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Had my boy Harmon last week. Thought he would get there, but no. Yeah, it was. Oh, that was brutal watching that. All right, Brady, we're going to cash a ticket this week, my man. We appreciate it. Game Time Decisions returns after this here on the Grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are 2 great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Patino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game Time Decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Time Decisions here on the SportsGrid Network as we've got some madness already underway at the break. Playing game time, Grambling State taking on Montana State. Montana State, great first half, 42-33 on top of Grambling right now. Of course, the winner advances, and then we'll have another great game coming up between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West with Boise State taking on Colorado. And the man taking over at the top of the hour here who will carry it all the way through that game, Scotty Wetzel, Mr. Opposite Picks, who will be on, Scotty, I believe, Saturday and Sunday with the late craziness there. We'll be on In-Game Live, a special edition of Bracket Madness here. Talk to me about this game tonight, though, because it is win and you're in. Love the urgency. And we've got Mountain West versus Pac-12. I don't like the Mountain West. We talked about this. But how are you leaning in this game here tonight?
Yeah, I don't really like it either. You know, I'm not a big fan. I actually am a fan of the Mountain West, but as most people think, they got overmatched here. I don't know how the Big East didn't get more and the Mountain West got 6, but that's obviously we debated that in the last couple of days. So I'm going to go under with this one. I'm not going to pick a side. Give me the under. You know, if I had to pick a side, I probably would take Colorado laying 2.5. Now it's up to 3.5, as you see. But I don't think we're going to get to 143. That line is bumped up. That was 140.5 this afternoon. So obviously I'm going against the grain here, but that's okay. You know, they give you a list a mile long of line movements that turned out to be wrong. So I got a lot of under trends. Boise State 6-2 under. Last 8 is an underdog as they are here. 5-0 under. Last 5 are neutral site. Same thing with Colorado. You know, not monster under trends, but, you know, for a toss-up type of game in which I really don't have a dog in the fight, I'll go with the under. You know, new arenas for both teams to be shooting at. You know, no local fans, right? And they're in Dayton, Ohio. I don't think too many people from Boise or Colorado are going there. So what are you going to have, 10 people in the stands? You know, it's going to be a stale atmosphere. So let's go under the 143.5 if you get a number that high.
Yeah, no, I agree here. And, you know, neutral site games, different sight lines, teams they've never played. It's not like conference ball. You and I talked about this over the weekend where it's the third time you're playing a team. No. Different ball game here. But at the same time, Scotty, I love some of these games going on right now. I love the NIT. I love the CIT. I love some of the matchups we have here tonight. Currently right now, Seton Hall and St. Joe's are in a battle, 30-28 in the first there. And then, of course, we've got also Loyola, I believe, taking on Bradley, and that, too, with about 2 minutes to go, but it's all Bradley, 34-16 over Loyola Chicago. How were you looking at some of these early games here tonight?
Yeah, so far, so good with those. Did go 4-0. I pat myself on the back yesterday in some of these NIT games, and not even realized, I completely forgot about the NIT until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, well, it's going to be a nice, easy night. And then I see all these games listed. I'm like, oh, that's right. NIT, CBI, CIT. We got plenty of college basketball. So actually, you had 4-0 yesterday. So I'm on fire with these goofy games. I did like St. Joe's in this game, right? You know, proximity, real close, Philadelphia and Seton Hall. You got plenty of St. Joe fans there. And, you know, if you look for stats, as I do, Joe, in these toss-up type of games, and I kind of equated these NIT and CBI and CIT games kind of like college football bowl games. You know, you really don't know who wants to be there, who's going to play. The fan bases aren't going to be great, even on campus, right? So it's potluck on some of these things. That's why I said if you want to give me St. Joe's plus 7.5, Seton Hall 0-7 against the spread. Last 7 games is a home favorite of 7 to 12.5 points as they were here. So that tells me that they may win at home, and they do, but they don't cover a decent-sized number. No reason to think St. Joe's isn't going to hang with them. They are so far, so you can get pretty much that same number right now. So I like that one, and I like the over on the Bradley Loyola Chicago game. I love the NIT. They do a halfway decent job of putting teams that are fairly close together, a little rivalry, try to build a little bit of a fan base for some of these games. Unlike UNLV Princeton, by the way. But Bradley over 11-5 last 16 home games. We got Loyola Chicago over 5-1 as an underdog. Again, not monster trends, but I do like playing overs in some of these rivalry type of games. So I like the over, and so far we're at a pretty good pace.
Yeah, no, not bad at all. Love that there, as the overs have actually done a pretty decent job in that first go-around last night there. Scotty, I find another Mountain West team that I don't know if I can play them here either with UNLV taking on Princeton here tonight. 3, I think, is the number that we were seeing here. What do you think about this Mountain West team?
Yeah, that line was 2.5, and now it's either 3, 3.5. So people are betting Princeton at home. You know what? I'm right there with them. Again, I kind of like the over more than I like the game itself. But you think about all the close games. Loyola Chicago, Bradley's, St. Joe's, and Seton Hall. Meanwhile, UNLV. I don't know who they did to tick off the people at the NIT, but they're flying all the way to New Jersey to take on Princeton. I mean, that's a tough go. So I would bet Princeton if I had to, and maybe put that in a parlay with the over. We wouldn't think of Princeton, right? Pete Carrill, the slow down offense and all that other stuff, right? That was a long time ago. How about 16-5 over, Joe? Their last 21 home games is Princeton. They're on a 4-0 over run heading into this game. UNLV's got some nice numbers as underdogs, but the over stands out to me. So give me the over 139.5 in the game.
Yeah, I like the 3 with Princeton too. The travel and Princeton wants to win this game here, and I think they will. The next game too, I don't know how you bet into it, but Wake Forest is at home. They welcome App State, right? Wake Forest 16-1 straight up at home. They're also 11-4-1 at home as a favorite, Scotty. Are we getting in front of, if this was reverse and this was an App State, I'd be fading Wake Forest, but it's not. How are you approaching this one?
I'm going to go over. This might be one of the better over. In fact, it is one of the better over plays to me. I'm surprised the line is not into the 150s. And App State relatively close to Wake, so they're going to come to play. North Carolina school, right? So it's not like, we don't want to be here. Wake Forest, 10-3 over last 13 home games. How about 14-4 over last 18 as a favorite, as they are here? How about Appalachian State, 11-5 over, Joe, last 16 games overall, including 5-1 as an underdog on the road. I mean, it all points to points being scored, and you're getting a halfway decent number at 146.5, maybe 147.5, depending on where and when you do your shopping. Like I said, I thought this game was going to be in the 150s. This is an automatic overplay for me.
Yeah, no, don't blame you with that one. It's a good look there in that one. Wake is going to score. And they're a good free throw shooting team too, as well. So that'll be good. That one coming up. And how about, if I'm Villanova, I got to be ecstatic that I'm finally playing the Atlantic 10 and not UConn or somebody else along those lines. This is 2 very defense-oriented teams. You've talked a couple of overs. You're not looking at the over on this, are you?
No. I did. Believe it or not, I made that mistake. Don't ask why. I'm almost embarrassed to admit it, but I actually played it over last night. Yeah, in Virginia. I did. I got suckered in. The line was so low. I looked up Colorado State, and they only had one game, Joe. One game all year in which they didn't have 121 points. And I said, all right, they're going to get some. Why not, right? So, not again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So, got to go under here. Strong under trends. Villanova, 20-7 under last 27 games. VCU 10-3 under last 13 road games. They're on a 4-0 under run. Again, little surprise you got it into the 130s. I would gladly take that. I figured this would be around 127, 128.5, but not the case. You got it at 131.5. So let's go under Villanova VCU.
Oh, looking at the under there. It just depends on how much defense these teams want to play, right? We saw last night, Scotty, with some of those NIT games where, it looked like an exit, like, okay, let's just see how many points we can rang up here. I don't think we're going to get that here tonight with Villanova and VCU, that's for sure. How about the NBA, Scotty? In what world does anyone live in which Phoenix should be laying almost double digits against anybody? This team has done nothing but burn money as a favorite this year. And you want me, even against the Sixers, you want me to lay 9? How are you looking at this? Please don't tell me you're laying the 9.
No, we're taking the 9. We have to, and we're going to go under as well. And this Phoenix team is the same team that failed to cover back-to-back home games against the Houston Rockets, who I understand now are playing very well, but when they played them a week and a half ago, they weren't. And they actually lost the game straight up. So any enticing – now, Philadelphia numbers against the spread are horrible as well, but you know what? I'll take my crack at Philadelphia plus the 9, and we're going to go under. You think Houston, or you think Phoenix, and you think, okay, high scoring, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and all the guys, right? Not the case. They're an under team. How about 21-8 under their last 29 games? 21-8. I mean, that's more than just this recent under thing we've had going in the NBA. 16-5 under at home. So don't think they play any more up pace at home. They don't. And then you got monster Philadelphia unders as well. 9-1-1 last 11 when playing on 1 day's rest, as they are. 5-0-1 under their last 6 games. 222.5 is a pretty high number in the NBA these days. So let's grab the under, and we'll go Philadelphia in a little parlay.
Yeah, kind of like that as well here tonight. And the Warriors, another one of these teams. I'm scratching my head, Scotty. They're not great at home. They're laying 11, double digits, and quietly, the Grizzlies have been cashing tickets against the number for a couple of weeks now. So, what gives? Do you trust Golden State to lay it here tonight?
I don't, but they're in a battle with Houston for that and the Lakers for the final 2 playoff spots in the West. I mean, they really, if they don't be careful, Houston will catch them the way they're playing. So I'm not going to lay the 11. I will go over. It's a rare NBA over. 10-4 their last 14 games are the Grizz on playing on 1 day's rest. 7-1 over their last 8 road games are the Grizz. And you got Golden State, which figures to put 120 on the board against Memphis at home, right? So, and I think Memphis is good for 100. So let's go the over 218.5.
Yeah, not a bad way to look here tonight in that one. And of course, Scotty, we've got baseball, don't we? That's right. I heard you brushing up on your interpreter skills. Is that true here, my man? What are you doing, Dodgers and Padres here?
I can order Chinese food if Ohtani wants. I can order his food for him if he wants to pay me that. I promise. I don't have gambling debts. You don't worry about me.
Yeah.
I don't. The guy's he's been in the United States for 6, 7, 8 years now. He still needs an interpreter.
Right.
Really?
That robs you.
Give me 2 plays. I'm betting the Dodgers. I kicked myself because I forgot when I got home to put the Dodgers in. I want to bet the Dodgers every single game this year. We figured it out. It's best to bet the Dodgers every single game. So we're going to lay the minus 188, lay the 1.5 as well. And Dallas Stars regulation against Arizona. Dallas 17-1, Joe, at home. Last 18 against Arizona. They have to win tonight.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Scotty Wetzel, we appreciate it, my man. He's coming up top of the hour for In-Game Live Primetime. We'll wrap it up next here on The Grid.
SportsGrid's going to have you covered for this NCAA tournament.
That's the Purdue that we know. When it's win or go home, they love to go home.
Tennessee's now in my phony club. They should all get together and drink green tea.
Furman's going to have a chance. That is a team I'm betting on right now.
We are feeling this. You are feeling this at home. The excitement and the atmosphere.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NC State game on Saturday against North Carolina that stood out most to me, that they not only went on a 5-day heater like they did in '83 when Valvano took them another 6 games and they won the national championship.
The committee didn't sit there at the beginning of the week and think that Oregon, New Mexico, NC State, Duquesne, they didn't sit there planning for all those teams to go and win.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Morehead State and Indiana State are two great mid-majors that look very dangerous. And Bama sent those teams into outer space.
You're looking at a guy that resurrects programs. Iona was down in the dumps till Pitino got there. Now you know who Iona is because they were making runs into the NCAA tournament. And now you take a look at St. John's down in the dumps here, resurrecting another New York City team here.
Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart teams.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in. Woo, the madness is off and running here. Game time decisions on the SportsGrid Network. Don't go anywhere. So much more still to come there. Scotty Wetzel and the crew taking over in just a couple of minutes for another in-game live here with plenty going on. We talked about an NIT tournament, CIT tournament, play-in game currently right now. Second half, 15 minutes to go. It looks like Montana State holding on 49-37 over Grambling State in that one. Immediately following that, we will have Colorado trying to punch their ticket. Some think Colorado should already be in the tournament, but they'll have an opportunity by taking on Boise State coming up here in just a few, and they will have you all set for that one. And then, of course, we are awaiting. We've got plenty of NBA action also tonight, some interesting games, including the Pistons, who were getting 10.5 points in this game against the Indiana Pacers at home. Far too many points as far as I was concerned. 51-48 right now, 2.5 to go in the first half. And remember we told you how ridiculously low that Miami Heat game was? Yeah, well, 58-48, the Miami Heat over the Cavaliers with 3 minutes to go in the first half. So that 204 is looking to be a problem here with Jimmy Butler already dropping 20 points in the game there. We also have the Bucks and the Celtics. Celtics up 26-19, and the Kings on top of the Raptors right now, 25-21. Coming up, though, you've got Jazz Thunder. Don't be surprised if this is an absolute blowout by the Thunder. And then 10 o'clock tonight, Eastern time, Clippers, Blazers, 76ers, Suns, as well as the Warriors and the Grizzlies. We got a little something for everybody here tonight. And as usual, we have got you covered here as in-game live primetime coming up next, Game Time Decisions. Well, we'll see you again soon. Good luck. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you again soon.